times. Seeing Gomek up close was a powerful and memorable experience. By the time he arrived here in St. Augustine, Gomek was over 15 feet long and weighed nearly a ton.
He was a massive animal. He was the largest reptile ever put on display in the Western Hemisphere.
And I remember grabbing his toe and my fingers not meeting my thumb when I was holding up his toe.
When he came out of the water, he just had a massive head. It was all dinosaur.
Gomek's story begins on the Fly River in southern New Guinea, a large island north of Australia.
It is remote. There are ancient peoples living up in the hills and along the river. It simply has not been touched by modern humans as many other places in the world have.
Gomek spent the first 50 years of his life in a swampy region deep in New Guinea's interior. When World War II was underway, he was already a big crocodile. And by the time a young Australian hunter named George Craig heard about him, Gomek had become a legend. Craig came to New Guinea to hunt saltwater crocodiles. The animals were prized for their skins, used to make shoes, briefcases, and handbags. Craig set up a base camp on the island of Nauru. From here, he would make 4 or 5 trips a year up the Fly River in search of his prey. It was on one of these trips in 1968 that Craig learned of an enormous crocodile. Natives claimed the croc was inhabited by an evil spirit and had killed a number of villagers.
They told me about this croc in the mouth of the river, and I thought, oh, that's good. I hadn't seen the croc. You won't see a big one like that. So I set a hook. So I did. And the chances with a hook is that if he swallows it, he's got a problem if you tug. But eventually, if you don't tug and it hasn't got much pulling, he won't do it damage. But if he does, well, he lost it. So in the case of Gomek, I set the hook, and early morning we arrived and I could see something had happened where the hook was. And the boy was still there, but I pulled the line up and the hook was out. But the croc was still there. And as we pulled it, he knew something was going on, and all the grass was moving, and I thought, he's going to go. The hook's not there. There's nothing attaching him to the rope. But actually, he twirled around, and that's how he got caught. He got the rope on there, and I carefully made sure that I wasn't going to pull it off. And when he came up for breath, I gave him a harpoon, little whop.
It took 20 men to hoist the crocodile out of the water and into Craig's 45-foot boat.
And then once you got him, you got the problems. And what are you going to do with it? You're 400 miles up a river. What?
The trip back took 5 days. Craig named the crocodile Gomek. Placed in a pen with a female companion, Gomek settled in for a 4-year stay on the island of Nauru.
I picked up his nature after a while, that he wasn't aggressively like when he's after food, he doesn't bang into it, he just took it easy, and he knew that he was going to get the food, and I presume he worked out in his head that, if I treat this guy right, he's going to treat me right.
Through his work with Gomek, Craig became aware of the public's fascination with crocodiles. In 1972, Craig moved Gomek to an aquatic museum on Green Island, just off the northeastern coast of Australia.
He was on display on Green Island in Australia and drawing a lot of attention because he was so massive there. And then a gentleman by the name of Arthur Jones got interested in him. And Arthur Jones was a fairly rich guy. He made his money after he created the Nautilus weightlifting equipment.
Arthur Jones was fascinated by reptiles. The larger, the better. In 1985, Jones bought Gomek and moved him to his private ranch near Ocala, Florida. It was here that David Dristo, owner of the St. Augustine Alligator Farm, learned about Gomek.
You get to see this big crocodile, and the wheels are always turning here, thinking, well, that would just draw thousands of people to the St. Augustine Alligator Farm.
In 1989, the Alligator Farm purchased Gomek, that brought him home to St. Augustine. He was given his own pool, surrounded by natural vegetation and thick grass. Visitors could view Gomek from below the waterline through glass windows built into the side of his pool.
He would start swimming, and he would move around and come towards the glass, and guests would have their face that far from him. And it's really heavy acrylic. No way he could ever go through it, but it's hard to hold your face there.
Gomek immediately became the Alligator Farm's star attraction. Tourists and school children came in droves to see him.
When it was time to feed Gomek, it was a couple times a week, 3:30 or something in the afternoon. And we'd make announcements over the PA, and all the guests would go right out there. And we would enter Gomek's enclosure, and sometimes he would already be swimming slowly back and forth because he knew what was going on. And then we'd turn around and we would grab the food with these 30-inch tongs and hold this animal. It's called a nutria, a very large rodent from South America. And we hold it out by the tail and get a lot of ooze and ahs from the guests. And turn around and Gomek was ready. And he would move his tail and make waves, huge waves across the pool, back and forth. And even all the employees watching from the side doors would be excited. We did this twice a week, year after year, and it was just everybody on the farm would come up. Then I would turn around and hold the food up, and if you wanted to get them out of the water so you would stretch, you would hold it up a little higher. And so I would hold it up so it's kind of dangling like this above my head. And Gomek would come up and put his feet on the edge of the pool. And his feet often were still at a lower level than my feet were. But he would stretch up, and without even leaving the ground, he would reach up over my head. So he would come down and he would eat the food, and he'd toss it back and grab it again. Sometimes he'd give it a little crunch. I would have a louder microphone on, and he would guess. We did about 2 or 3 of those nutria feeding, and it was definitely a highlight of everybody's day.
As a display animal, he was tremendous because he was a fairly good-looking crocodile. But he also had a temperament that was quite different from the saltwater croc. He was a calm animal, and very quiet animal.
People who know a crocodile knew Gomek. So that was huge for us. He ended up in the Guinness Book of World Records. So people are looking for what's the biggest crocodile. There's Gomek with his name, and where can I see him? And I can see him at the Alligator Farm.
Gomek died in 1997, having reached a fairly advanced age for a reptile. His passing was front-page news in newspapers across the state.
Pretty sad. Pretty sad, yeah. I was his keeper at the time, so I was pretty upset. And it was pretty unexpected. I just remember everybody was really excited here.
In death, as in life, Gomek remains the most famous reptile the world has ever known.